Okay, so now we're ready to do the face and the beard on our little Santa. So you can see I have various skin tones I'm showing here. I have more, but we're going to do like this medium, kind of ruddy skin tone. It's easier than the really fair one to see what I'm doing. And I have another guy in the works too. Let's see, I'm making lots of Santas these days. So before you get started with this phase, you'll want to have watched the video about this. There's another folder with just general little human type things, and you'd want to build up the shape of the head to get a little more forehead and a little bit of a chin here. Now this project is a little more forgiving because so much of the face gets covered with beard, and you can really wind up just building up the chin with the beard, and a lot of the forehead gets covered with the hat. So you can do a little less on this, but I did a full build up of this head, you can see. And then what we're gonna start with is I'm just gonna mark where I'm gonna put, actually let's start with marking the eye sockets about 2/3 of the way up the head, and then I'm gonna just make little eye sockets here and then build up a nose. Now, I just want to show you on the Santa, I built up a little more of a nose on this guy. This one was a very simple nose. This one is really just like a ball, like the simplest kind of, but cute for a Santa. And like I said, because so much of this face gets covered with beard, you can get away with kind of doing less for the facial features than we did on some of the other projects. But I'm going to build up a nose, and you can make it just a little. So I'm going to take a little poof of wool. If you want to make just a little ball nose, you just, like other ways we've built up a little ball, you just go around underneath, poking in on an angle to just poke the edges in. We want to tuck way under there to keep, I'm going to show you from the side. That's like very ball-like, right? And that's still too poofy and loose. We're going to want to poke that in some more. And I can start shaping it so it's a little less of a ball, a little more nose-like. I'm going to add some more wool to that. You can make this a cute little nose or big round nose, whatever you'd like. And it can be a little less realistic than we've done on some of the others. But if you want to make a more realistic nose, then go check out those other videos. In that other folder, the human, I think it's called like Simple Human. Still, I need to make more complex human videos because I do that too. Where I actually try to make someone's nose, little felted nose, look like the real person's nose. So I'm just keeping this really simple right now. So you see I'm making it a little more triangular, but knowing that there's going to be a mustache right under it and these big cheeks next to it, I don't have to get so detailed. You see you can add layer. I'm just adding another layer and poking down the shape by changing the angles of the needle. Make sure I'm on your screen pretty well. Okay, good. Okay, so let's just say I can keep working on that nose, but for now, let's just get a really simple nose. I'm not gonna see, sometimes this one I did add nostril. You see this one has it's built up way more and I gave it nostrils. So you could do that on this one. I'm just gonna keep this one simple though. Okay, so then once we get the nose on, we can really reinforce where those eye sockets go. Okay, so I'm going to do a version of the eye. I think that the video I did in that folder actually had a more complicated eye where we started with a white eyeball and then did the iris and the pupil. So and then eyelids on the whole thing. So that's more time-consuming, elaborate process. I really like the results of that, but we're going to do something here where we kind of we get most of the effect of that with far fewer steps. So what I'm going to do is pick a color for the iris, and that's what I'm going to start with. I don't know if you could see on this guy, I kind of had gray with a little touch of green. I don't know what I was thinking. This one has brown. You can see brown. This one again has brown. So I'm going to do, I think, gray eyes on this guy. So So I'm going to take little bits of this. You can do any, you know, you probably have shades of blue and gray and green and brown, hopefully, that you can use. And what I'm going to do is actually make the shape of the iris. Well, with this iris color, I'm going to make the shape that the eye would be in this kind of smiling. So I'm going to want to make it really rounded underneath, to like the cheeks are already there. So I'm going to make this line underneath. So in relation to the nose, you want to make the eyes, you start, the bottom of the eye is around at the bridge of the nose. And I'm going to poke this in already in the shape that it would be, assuming it's underneath the eyelids already. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of go underneath. The rounder I make it underneath, the more it'll look like he'll look like he's smiling. And I'm going to add more wool. We want to make these a little bigger, and definitely we want to get this nice and firm. So what I did, let me just show you. So I'm making the iris as the main part instead of the eyeball. And then if you see what I did on this one, is I then, after making brown, I added the pupil as a black pupil, a white highlight, but I also added just little tiny bits of white to the corners of the eye, which, you know, is a hint of that white eyeball, but instead of doing the whole white eyeball, we're just gonna, after the fact, put in little hints of it. So I would recommend doing these eyes like each step you do both sides so that you can get it symmetrical. I used to do these things where I would just do one side, but I'm gonna actually, this might be a long video, but I'm gonna do both sides, and if necessary, we'll just do the beard as a separate video. Okay, so now I'm gonna do this other one. And I still don't know that this is firm. You wanna make sure this is firm enough so that you can poke in the other colors without flattening it. I don't know if you can see that I still have this kind of looking like a rounded, you want that convex shape. So this is very similar to the other technique, except that instead of making the full white eyeball, like a bare open eyeball, and then covering all the layers, we're gonna make this, we're gonna assume the eyelids are already there, and we're using the iris color to fill in that gap between the lower lid and the upper lid. You could still add, you could do some kind of hybrid of these techniques where you would still add some upper eyelid maybe. Because I probably still will build up the cheeks after this too. I won't think of it so much as building up a lower eyelid as building up the cheeks, but we'll do that. And that'll help make this rounded, more rounded underneath. Right now these look more or less flat underneath and rounded at the top. You know what I mean? Rounded like, so these are almost like little half moon shapes. Okay, so we want to get those nice and firmed up, like I said, so that we can add the details to them. Adding a little more. I need to do that right now. But if you're just felting along with me, you can probably at least do this way. You don't need to pause it. You can just be felting with me. Sometimes I guess I work kind of fast and you're better off pausing and catching up. Okay, so yeah, I'm not feeling like those are totally symmetrical, but I do feel like I could, by adding more of the cheeks, I'm gonna be able to make it so. So I'm gonna take more of this skin tone and build up these cheeks underneath the eyeballs now. You can wait till you're finished with the details of the eyes to do that, but I just felt like doing that now would be helpful. So I want to make this, because it's going to have a beard, you can make this cheek kind of unrealistically round, because you're going to have the rest of the, most of the rest of the face is going to get covered with the little curls. So here, that needs a little more. It's still not quite round and firm as I would like. I'm gonna make these real apple cheeks, and then we're gonna add some pink to the nose and the cheeks. I do that on most of them I do add, I think on that other video, I added like a blush color to the cheeks. On the Santa, I do it, you can see on this guy, I added like this pink tone. All these have little pink balls on the cheeks and the nose. Makes them extra cute. Okay, so let me do the other cheek now. But you want to build up the cheeks. Little round apple cheeks. And then, I don't know if I picked a pink that would be a really good pink for this. We're just going to use a regular pink, maybe blended with this color. This particular skin tone is very pink to begin with. If you have questions about different skin tones and different colors of pink that go with them, or how to blend the colors, just let me know. This is a nice, like, deeper mauvey pink that I use for the darker skin tones. Okay, so how's that guy looking? Okay, so you see I built up the cheeks, and his eyes look weird because they're going to look less weird as we add more elements to it. So I'm going to give each little eye now. We're kind of going back and forth, cheeks and eyes. That's okay. I'm going to give each one a little iris. Not an iris. We already did the iris. I'm doing the pupil, making a nice round pupil. Okay, I'm going to try to tuck in. I'm going to go around the edges of this circle, tucking them under. Glasses for this fine detail. Okay, and then on the other eye, I'm making it right in the middle of the eye, kind of at the lower part of this iris. You want to look at it straight ahead and make sure. You can make the eyes looking off to the right or looking up or down, but you want to make sure that both irises are pointed in the same direction. You don't want him to look like he's making a face, like he's Cookie Monster. Okay, so, okay, got those. And now I'm going to take, if you have bright white wool, that's what I recommend you use for this, the highlights and for the corners of the eye. And I recommend, it's sometimes hard to tell the difference between the bright white and the core. It's like very subtle difference. So try to keep it separate. But if you need to use, just the core wool, that's fine too. All right, so I'm gonna put tiny highlight up. I like to put the highlight right where the pupil meets the iris. And you wanna put them, if I do the upper right corner on this eye, I'm gonna do the upper right corner on the other eye as well. I want the light coming from the same direction to both eyes. Because these eyes are on the front of the head. Sometimes when the eyes are on the side of the head for certain kinds of animals, you would do that differently. Okay, so all this needs to be felted down. This is looking really cute, but also still really fuzzy. And, you know, I keep felting things until they're smooth. So I may need to do a video again sometime soon about how to get everything really smooth, but it's just a matter of continuing to poke and use a really fine needle. If you're trying to get everything really smooth, you're going to want to switch to either, you're going to want to use a 40 gauge needle or a twisted 38 gauge needle. And if you have my set, that would be a green needle or a purple needle. Okay. And I would keep poking really lightly until all the little stray hairs are felted down. Okay, so now I'm going to do, I keep going back and forth through the face and the eyes again, but here we're back to the eyes. This just, you don't need to do this, but I think this will give it even that much more of a element of realism and a hint of the eyeballs, the full eyeball being there, is that I put a little bit of white in the corner of the eyes. Okay, so, and you can try to round the edge of that around the iris, but if you just put a tiny little bit in the corner, it'll automatically give the illusion of that anyway. You see the difference between those two eyes already? And I'll make it even better if I can poke this in a more rounded shape, but it's not necessary. Okay, so the inside corner of this eye now. All right. And I made these eyeballs pretty big. You can just, I can leave them like this. I could also, as in the other videos, I can add a little more eyelid. I feel like maybe I did kind of here. Instead of adding more for the eyelid, I'm going to see if I can go across the top and poke that down over the eye so they don't look like they're bulging out so much. Okay, I think that's a little better. But I might, just because I'm a perfectionist, just add a little, just build up these brows again before I put eyebrows on there, which we may do. I think we will. This is going on well. We're probably going to do, I'm going to finish this up with adding color to the cheeks. And we'll do the beard and the eyebrows in another video. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit more of the skin tone right above each eye. I'm not thinking of it as an eyelid so much as just building up this brow area again. So I could put, you could think of it as an eyelid too. Whatever yours needs, yours might not need this step. Okay. So notice how my Santa's looking. This one looks especially cute and sweet to me right now. Now notice we're not doing a mouth. We're not even doing much of a chin. I do a hint of a mouth after the beard. So we're going to leave that. So the only thing left to do on this guy before pre-beard, well, you could outline these eyes like we did in the other video. I didn't, on any of these, I didn't outline these eyes, okay? The other videos I did on this Mrs. Claus, I lined the top of the eye like a lash line, but not really the whole eye. And like if you go back to the other set of videos, I think I did outline the whole eye. So that is your option. We're not going to do that on this one. So pink. So this may not be the right pink, but so for the purposes of this, what I'm going to do is blend some of this pink with some of this skin tone. What I did on this with this really fair skin tone is I just put a really, really thin layer of this pink. On this Santa, I put a really thin wispy layer of that mauvey pink over it. Let's just see, we could see how this would look. It might be fine, but because it's actually lighter than the color we're doing, it may not look right. But this is the technique. Let me just do it as the technique anyway. Take a really wispy thin piece of that pink and lay it over the cheek. I'll probably do this one over again with a little deeper pink, but a little wispy piece, and then just really get it. You don't want to do a chunk and have them look like a clown. You just want little hints of pink. And I think we did this on an earlier video too, so the only difference in this is that I do it on the nose as well. Okay, so I'm gonna stop here. I'm probably I'm gonna go into my bin of pink wool and find a color that's better for these cheeks, and I will do these cheeks. Redo these cheeks, and we will continue on the next video by adding the beard and the brow.